Good afternoon. It is Thursday, May 15th, 2025. It is 2 o'clock, and this is a special meeting of the Jefferson Public Utility District Board of Commissioners. My name is Jeff Randall. I'm president of the board and calling the meeting to order. Jefferson PUD will be offering both virtual online meetings as well as in-person meetings unless advance notice is provided. Online participant audio will be muted upon entry. Please unmute at the appropriate time to speak. And if you're calling in, use *6 to mute and unmute and *9 to raise a hand to request to speak. Let's do a roll call of commissioners. My name is Jeff Randall, Commissioner for District 1 and President of the Board.
As Commissioner District 2.
Dan Tupper, Commissioner for District 3.
And for the record, Kent cut out, so Kent Collins, Commissioner District 2. Okay, we're all present and accounted for. Agenda review, we have one item on the agenda, and I just wanted to share with the other commissioners, I kind of have a hard stop at 3 o'clock. So I'm hoping we'll be done by then. If that's okay with everybody else.
It'll save me having to feed the meter.
Okay, sounds good.
I also have a 3 o'clock hard stop.
Okay. So we have one item on the agenda. It's the BEAD application review. Any other changes to the agenda? Seeing none, can we have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor of approving the agenda, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Aye. All right, Will and Kevin, turn it over to you.
So I'm going to start, and this is going to be a little bit different presentation. This is a project that we have to look at really hard before we take on. I will tell you this, if I was staying on at the PUD, I would vote for this 100%. But without knowing who the new general manager is going to be, it makes it a little bit different for me. So Will and I have kicked this around quite a bit. Will has a great presentation he will give to you guys. But I have some concerns, and as we go through Will's presentation or at the end when we're discussing, I'll talk about some of the things we really have to consider before moving forward, because this is probably the last of the federal money, but is it the right time for the utility? So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Will.
Okay. So we have limited time and the application is due tomorrow. I'm hoping for approval from the board today, and we've got a resolution I'd like you to sign by tomorrow morning latest that we'll send out after, if you are willing to approve our plan to send our application forward. So BEAD grant backstory, I put together all the fun acronyms for you to see how the grant developed. It is part of the Congress's Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. That money was allocated to fund fiber or fund broadband across the nation. It was given to the NTIA, the National Telecommunications and Information Administration. They in turn sent it out to all, divided up for all the states. In our state, the Washington State Broadband Office received $1.2 billion to be able to connect or to serve all of the remaining unserved locations and underserved locations in our state. The project is awarded per project area. We are applying for project area 151. That is in our county on the eastern side. It does not extend to the west end. It does extend into Brennan though. And so that application, I said, is due May 16th. Funding wouldn't be distributed until 2026. And there's been a lot of questions about the match. This is a 100% grant that is being funded. 75% of the funds comes from the NTIA. The state is matching 25% of the funds, and that number has not been reduced for public agencies. The state is not matching any funding for non-public agencies.
And Will, sorry, I missed. BSL stands for?
We haven't gotten to that one. That's the next step. Yep.
Okay.
So the plan is for the money to go from the WSBO to JPUD and then to the BSL, and that's a broadband serviceable location. That's all the addresses on the map. That's how they divide it up, and you'll see the term come back. Okay. So BSLs. In our project area, there are a total of 1,071 BSLs. The funding is intended, we have to cover, when we apply for the project area, we have to have a plan to cover every single BSL in that project area. Our plan is to provide fiber to the home service to 974 BSLs. We have 97 BSLs that we are requesting go to low Earth orbit. Actually, I think it went up to 100 today for the final count. 100 BSLs to low Earth orbit and 12 BSLs that Hood Canal Communications will serve in Brennan, expanding off of their existing grant project. And all of these BSLs are locations left behind by all of our other grant projects. Oh, 6 of them are not serviceable. They're places we can't reach, so we're just asking them to be removed. Okay, so BSLs is the term that the grant uses to describe the individual locations. Passings is what we've been using all along for areas that are serviceable by the fiber being constructed. So we have passings and subscribers. Passings are everybody that could be served. Subscribers is everybody we expect to be connected during the service. So there are 987 total passings, 584 subscribers. For this grant, it's a unique process where the state has designated.
And sorry, Will, is the subscribers literally by taking 60% times?
Exactly right. Yeah.
Got it. Okay,
Yeah,
thank
yeah.
you. The passes.
So in this grant, there's a unique process ware the state is they're doing it two ways that are different than before. The first is that they've set it up as kind of an auction process so that everybody can apply. Anybody could theoretically apply for one project area, and the highest scoring application takes it. The other thing that they've designated is a cost threshold for what they'll fund. And they have designated $7,000 per passing as their high cost threshold. They've pretty much been denying applications above that. Now, that won't be the final rule. There will be some negotiations there, but that's where they've set their target. So in our grant, you'll see we're trying to get our application to be below 6.7 or below 7,000 per passing.
Mhm.
In order to do that, we had to come up with a method, and we've talked to a number of the other PUDs on how they're going to move forward. Kitsap PUD has chosen to lower their construction costs so they can qualify. We've decided to apply only for our outside plant construction and not include our costs for engineering, permitting, and electronics. So those would not be part of the grant, and I'll explain more of that as I go on. So our total request is 6.7 million, and again, 6.9 per passing. This project has 78 miles of mainline fiber, 30 miles of drops. The average drop is 272 feet. For our main lines, it's pretty much even 50-50 aerial bury. It's majority bury for the drops to the home. For this project, we'd be contracting out most of the construction, but our broadband team would do the aerial drops and the installs inside the home. Okay, the most controversial part of this project and what we're here to talk about are those costs that are not being covered by the grant. We have $2 million in additional costs that are not going to be covered by the grant, and that is the electronics, the engineering, and the permitting and the environmentals. That total $2 million is equal to about 25% of the total project cost. That's the same as Reconnect, where we also had a 25% match that we chose to fund as a loan from RUS. How we decide, if we decide to move forward, we'd have multiple options for how we would want to pay that $2 million, but it wouldn't be part of our application. All that said, I spoke with Lewis PUD for a while today. Unlike Kitsap, they have decided to just apply for the grant at their full cost. Their board will not agree for a cash match. And they're aware that most likely then they'll be pushed to the third round, and there may or may not be opportunities at that point. they have some very, very rural areas and very poor areas where I think they're better positioned to be able to hold their ground more than we are. What I have been told is that if we do not apply, if we don't go through with this, it's most likely going to go to uh, a fixed wireless company, and that will not be a good solution for our customers. And I personally don't think that's what we want to allow to happen. Okay, so I'm going to go just show you the project areas real quick. And I'll send this to everyone after the fact. The little yellow dots are all of the fiber locations. Blue lines are new fiber. Red lines are all the fiber that's been built or is being built by the current grants. And then the little, what is it? The blue dots are areas that we're pushing, we're suggesting go to satellite. And they're generally just one-offs far away from everything else, where it's just more convenience to have them picked up by satellite. And in many cases, they have good exposure. They're not boxed in by trees, so it's easier for them to be served versus where folks are in tight forest.
So we've literally, you've looked at these at that much detail.
Oh yeah, yeah, we've
Wow.
gone through it so many times.
Wow.
I mean, this is our fifth time at it because we had, we started out at 13 million total, and we've shaved it down. A lot of what we did is shave down areas. I don't know if you can see it on this map. No, you can't see it. We put in a lot of extra fiber, not extra fiber. I don't think it's extra fiber, but we put in more mainline fiber to create loops, to create redundancies, to do everything that would help build a healthier network and would allow us to expand in the future. But because they weren't absolutely necessary to serve these last locations, we removed a lot of those. That was our biggest cost savings. And then from there, we trimmed a bunch of other costs to try to make it as bare bones as possible. Okay, just all the three areas. You see, again, the red is the fiber being built with the current grants. That'll be the Reconnect grant. But along the Thorndike area, south of, or what is that? South of the bridge there, so we'd be building. Okay, so why do it? Why do we want to take this on? Why do we want to do it right now? This is our last chance, I believe, to connect our unserved residents. This is the last bit of funding to come through. I think we need to do it. Adding more subscribers just reduces our total cost per subscriber. Where as we expand the network, it gets cheaper to operate for everybody. We had Doug Dawson do the numbers, and he predicted a 4 to 7 year payback on this investment. 7 years is if we include all of the overheads, 4 is if we roll them back. I don't think we're rolling them back.
Say that again, what you just said.
Doug is still advocating that we roll back the overheads that we're charging to the new utility of broadband, where we've added 7% onto all of our costs.
Okay.
We've already done it, so it's fine.
Okay.
But he's adamant about it.
And this is where some of my concerns come in at. I've done projects where you come underneath a budget restraint. We rework the numbers to a point where it's very hard to hit those targets. So the year payback in what I think is a more realistic number is 7 to 10 years. Because I do think there will be some cost overruns based on how thin the margins are right now.
Yeah.
They are very thin. Doesn't mean we shouldn't do it, but it does mean we have to go into this project with our eyes open, understanding that in this location, every customer will have a 7-year payback till we start. And that's if it wouldn't be for the additional infrastructure we gain through this process, to me, that would be unacceptable. But it does give us some additional fiber and some secondary routing that we can do with some of our SCADA and some of that kind of stuff. It does help the electrical side. But we're we're on the ragged edge. So
Dan, do you mind if I get through the next slide and then take questions or?
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So the other thing that this does is this build out places all the fiber closer to the dense area. So we get, and I'll show that in the next slide. And the last reason why I do, we're here to serve our customers with the utility services and improve their quality of life. And this is one of the ways we do it. And I think we deserve, or that all of our customers deserve that access. This is the one I wanted to show. This is what we started off with before COVID. We had the B-top fiber and then the fiber that Kevin built out for SCADA. And then we started getting the grant projects. And the last slide is what it's going to look like after we've gotten the BEAD grant. We will have covered the entire service territory with fiber access. So that's a huge achievement, and I'm loath to not see it through. I will admit.
So basically on the right-hand side, the beige brown color is what
Beige brown is the
we're-
BEAD grant. Yeah.
we're trying to accomplish with this one.
Yeah, that
Okay.
fills in everywhere that's not currently funded.
Okay.
And that means we would have fiber everywhere in our service territory.
Okay.
And that's nearly 600 miles of fiber.
Wow.
So and $65 million projects. So, yeah. So, the other reason why this is important and what we're offering that's unique is, we're the leading edge for the state in offering retail and open access network. We're in the leading edge of doing 10 by 10 gigs to every single premise. So many networks are still only on one or barely on one. We're way ahead. We've got affordable pricing with our minimum product at 150 by 150, the PON residential and small business. We've got enterprise fiber. We have our own low income funded discount. A lot of utilities don't have that. And then we have no data caps, no contracts, none of the deceptive pricing, and net neutral internet. So I know in a lot of times we talk about, well, we don't need to serve the unserved areas. They've already got cable and we're funded. I think we owe it to all of our customers to offer this product. It is such a superior product. And this grant helps us get it everywhere and helps us expand on that in the future. There's no way in the future that we would ever be able to get those costs to build out to Ludlow or some of the other areas without this grant. So this is the last table shows all of the grant projects and all the breakdowns and stats. And I'll take questions, Dan, if you want.
Okay, Dan, you're up.
So let's go back to the slide with the 4 blue boxes that Kevin was speaking to, because Kevin touched on some of what I was curious about. Or maybe it wasn't blue box, other direction, I think. The 4 to 7 year payback.
Payback slide.
Oh, that's the green one.
Green, sorry. I lost track of what all was what there. So again, the 4 to 7 year payback, Kevin has already alluded to that's probably not realistic. That would be my belief as well, because I'm still not sure. Originally on a lot of the work we've already done, we were promised a 3-year, net revenue positive position, and that slipped way beyond 3 years on that. I see no reason why this one won't fall into that same category. And Kevin said it's probably 7 to 10 years. And that's on the $2 million, if I'm assuming I'm hearing this all right. Not to mention any other cost of constructions that we're going to utilize or absorb during the process. Is that correct? On the payback? Is that for the 2 million that we're going to put up?
I think we'll end up putting more than the 2 million in, and that's what takes it to 7 to 10 years.
Okay. So again, my next question is, who exactly is paying that? Is that strictly broadband customers? Is this going to be subsidized by electric? Who exactly is paying this money back? And what kind of a take rate and monthly revenue production do we need to get to justify or quantify that number is going to be what we think it's going to be? Because so far on what we've already done, I don't think we can make those claims.
So that kind of shifts to my question, which is, okay, let's say we proceeded with this. Talk a little bit about the financing options and talk a little bit about how you're proposing the PUD would pay that back.
Sure. So on the payback, and this is part of the hesitancy about the timing and this kind of stuff. My idea would be that the electric utility would finance this and we would finance it and then get reimbursed by broadband.
So basically sorry to interrupt, but basically use cash that we have on hand
Yep.
now. And again, these expenditures would be happening roughly at what time frame? Like 2026, 2027? What?
Yeah, end of 26, 27, 28.
Well, and again, and I asked the question, okay, I've heard part of it is electric would be doing this. Will their revenue be generated by broadband to pay the electric back in a timely and affordable manner?
Yeah, that's what the payback schedule is. It was, we're paying the loans and then the entire project is paid off within either if you want to go 4 to 7 or if you want to go to 7 to 10. And one of the things Kevin and I have gone back and forth, we went down to visit Beacon Broadband in the southern coast of Oregon, which is a offshoot of Coos Curry Co-op. And Coos Curry funded almost all of it in a huge territory expansion right along the coast. And right up front, they committed that they wouldn't be paid back for 13 years. Other utilities are going farther out than that. So when we're saying 3 to 4 year payback on some of our other grants, we're talking about from the end of construction, and that's been the frustration for all of this. And I understand some of the skepticism because our construction has been delayed. So 3 year, those timeframes are from when we start earning revenue. Right now, we're just starting to earn revenue with the connections we're getting in Quilcene, but then our next batch of revenue won't come until 2026. So that's when our clock starts. But we are incurring expenses on staff and construction, those kind of things. So that does add to the cost.
Can I ask a question here? I mean, when you say payback, do you mean pay back the loan? Do you mean you're at a cash flow positive so you can pay your loans back? I mean, what is the actual meaning of that?
Cash flow positive.
So the electric side has been reimbursed.
So the way we had it set up to begin with is that we were funding, and we haven't readdressed this because there has been some budget changes. The original way we had done the business plan was that the tax revenue was going to cover the cost overages.
The property tax.
The property tax revenue. And that was going to be how we covered the extra costs where we were losing money in the first couple of years. We can go back and refine that modeling a bit more. But I think, Kevin, there's lots of options. You could do an interdepartmental loan from electric. There's the co-op loans that Mike has been working with CFC and CRC. There's RUS loan funding. Kitsap does a larger property tax levy that they use to fund their broadband expansion. If we're serious about connecting the entire county, we could propose something like that. I'm not saying that we do, but that is an option. So there'd be lots of options to figure that out. For today's discussion, I don't think we can come to a conclusion, but.
So we have a deadline tomorrow.
Yep.
And what exactly is this? It sounds like this resolution is authorizing staff to submit this application.
Correct.
For BEAD funding. Let's roll forward. Let's say, boom, we get awarded.
Yep.
What if, and let's presume we're going to keep preparing for budget. I don't know when the awards are going to, do we know when the awards would come out roughly?
We should, state is supposed to submit their final slate to the NTIA in July. So we would know theoretically in July. If we get awarded.
So a couple months down the road.
Yeah.
If we send the resolution in and submit the application and they award it, we're bound at that point?
We're not bound until we have a contract, and we're
okay. So we could pull
get
back
from a contract
if we decide.
I mean, it's not the most honorable thing to do, but
understood.
Yeah,
understood. But this is asking us to authorize the application, and I don't think you should ever do that if you intend not to do it. I think we should continue to talk about, is this a good idea? But I just wanted to understand that process.
I do think if we had a little bit more time, the financing piece, because this, to me, that's part of the crucial part of this loan doc or this grant
Mhm.
discussion. We could bring back additional information to the board on, our options. Last year, trying to fund it out of cash reserves when we're building these other projects just wouldn't have worked.
Right.
In 27, we believe it will work,
Okay.
but there still is, I think we have to have the discussion. Do we get a bridge loan?
Yeah.
Similar to like the county has done
Right.
on the sewer system.
Right.
So there's things like that that really, I know what you're saying. Should you put in, last time we were the only applicant for this area.
Okay.
I think we're gonna be the only applicant for this area this time. I don't think that's a bad plan to say, okay, give us a little bit more time to go through it, but go ahead and put the application in.
Okay.
We're not out anything.
All right. I'm going to go to Ken because you both have your hand up, and then we'll bounce back to Dan because Ken hasn't had a chance to go yet.
Will, could you please go back to the map that shows all of the, for lack of a better word, all the passings prior to that, prior to what you're showing now, that shows Marrowstone Island?
Yep.
Okay, I notice that most of the dots are congregated in District 2. So I feel that this is probably our last opportunity for significant grant funding. And I'm not sure, from what I read in the paper, that as to how solid this is. Things are moving very fast in Washington. And of course, if the program is killed, we haven't lost anything. Personally, I would like to see more elaboration on our funding options. And if we're talking about putting in infrastructure that has a lifespan of 40 or 50 years, and I think I'm being conservative when it comes to fiber, I would like to see whether we can borrow money for a significant period of time rather than take it out of electric, because we have a huge amount on our plate right now. We're talking about enormous projects, expensive projects on the electric side. I don't want to see those reserves go down. That makes me anxious. So I would like to see staff come back with additional options. I think time allows us to do that. And because so much of this is concentrated in District 2, I'm going to support our going forward with the grant application. And we'll just see what happens.
Dan?
So, couple things. I'm going to go back to the discussion about the 4 to 7 years or whatever all that is. I think there's some other costs that I think we have to be thinking about and looking at, and whatever, the final check that needs to be written or payback that needs to be made. We've got this PILT tax now that we have to be concerned about, because that could become a rather large number. Potential legal costs moving forward. That's another dollar amount we have to be figuring into this business model. Obviously, Kevin alluded to it, increased cost of construction or inflation, the interest we pay on a bridge loan. I mean, there's just a lot of other dollars, I think, that we're not talking about or thinking about or have baked into this cake yet. So again, I'm very uncomfortable with continuing to take risks and, sticking more toes over the ledge or jumping off the ledge here. I do think if nobody else has put in before, nobody else other than us has put in this time, I do think there will be other options presented down the road. They could very well be Leo and fixed by an outside entity, or maybe we can work something with NoaNet. Maybe we do a joint partnership with something we already part owners in. Maybe there's an answer within this area for this last group of people that, NoaNet, we could work with NoaNet to configure something. So those are just some thoughts. And, I get the District 2 thing, Ken, but also if you look down in Port Ludlow, one of those yellow dots is me, you know. So, I get there's consequences. Mine, first and foremost, is the fiscal responsibility of this organization, the ability to pay back affordably the things that we're going to do. And believe me, I'm truly pro broadband, but with the asterisk of, we can't sink the ship here for another 150 passings or 1,000 passings, for whatever it was, if we don't take the time to do the numbers, think it through, look at it. Because I do think the state of Washington, at the end of the day, in the broadband office, will find some alternatives here for people. So again, I'm very hesitant to commit as long as we can do this without being completely committed. I can probably be on the train here a little bit, but I do think that we need a lot more information, because here's the other part of this, going back to what Kevin said. If, on the electrical side, we just went to Washington, D.C. asking for people to loan us. We're not going to see any free money. Loan us $60 million in the very short period of time coming up. So I don't know how much strain we want to even put on the electric division by loaning money to the broadband division. I mean, there is a lot of domino effect or cause and effect here that is just too much unknown for me at this point to be comfortable about just saying, oh yeah, let's do this. But if we have an off ramp, which is what it sounds like we would, I could maybe go along, but at this point, there are more negatives to me than positives for us to move forward with this. So I'll leave it. That's the short version. I'll leave it at that.
Okay, thank you, Dan. So I just did the math quickly on the 584 calculated expected customers out of the 950 passings or whatever that was, and came up to about $3,400 per passing would be our cost if you take that number and divide it by 2 million. So $2 million is what we're going to spend on a substation transformer to keep the electrical grid reliable. When I've been at NoaNet and we've talked about wireless solutions, I hear what Will's saying, where you basically say that's not good service. And when we think about us being a provider and getting calls from, hey, why is my internet not working? Personally, at this point, I don't want to be providing service on anything other than fiber, because fiber is, we know when it's working. When it breaks, we can replace it. If you're dealing with wireless, it's like sending out a hope and a prayer that they're going to get internet, and when they don't get it, they're going to call and complain. So I feel like this is our last chance to get the most responsible build out of fiber we can for this county. And I kind of feel like that's what I committed to up front too. And for the cost of a substation transformer, I just don't think we're going to get build out any other way. It's going to be like per person and neighborhood and stuff, and it's going to be slow. So I will support this application. Now I have some of the same questions that the other commissioners do about financing. We're going into a bunch of expensive projects. I think we need to divide out by department who's paying for what and how each department is being budgeted. But I think we need to continue, if we add this burden on the PUD, we need to have a financing plan for how we're going to make this all work. And I'm hearing what Commissioner Collins is saying too. We'd rather not get down to zero and then go to the line of credit to keep things going. Because stuff happens. COVID happened.
Yeah.
And people, suddenly weren't paying. So I'm comfortable with the application going in. I think it's our last chance to get the fiber, the last bits of it funded. I think we'll be glad we did 20 years down the road. I think 10 years down the road, I think we'll be glad we built as much fiber as we did. And I think it's going to be a long-term technical solution. But I am concerned about the financing. I think we need to look at the financing options. And I'm not saying that other shoes aren't going to drop by the time we get to where they want us to sign on the line of the contract. We might say, not comfortable anymore. You know, stuff has happened. So we're not completely bound by it. But that's my thought. So, Dan, I see your hands up again. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm probably going to be a little redundant, but again, I'm okay as long as there's an off ramp here. But I guess what I'm saying is for staff, there is a lot more work, a lot more data and numbers that are going to have to be put forward for me to be a yes at the end of the day. Because right now I would be a no. Just knowing what I know and hearing what I hear every place we go, from Noanet to Waputa, wherever, and about BEAD and other things in the state budget, and what's going on at the federal government level. To me, I understand the need, but the risk to the overall utility, to me, it may not warrant. And I think this is where staff is going to have to do some work, and we have to have real numbers, real timelines, cause and effect. How many customers are we going to get? What's the revenue projection going to be? And that sort of stuff. I mean, it needs to be real numbers, not just stuff math that makes it look attractive. It has to be real math. And we're already looking at what we've done, and construction obviously was behind, but our revenue and our customers are nowhere near what they should have been. I'm assuming these other projects could very well put us in that same position, and we just keep digging a deeper hole. That's not a good thing.
So I'm going to ask a question on, so presume we pass this resolution, two of us or three of us, we're authorizing staff to apply. When it comes time to sign the contract and you're saying, okay, you provide us the funding and we will go build it, is that another commissioner vote at that point? Okay. So Dan, if you vote on this today, you're authorizing the application. There would be a second vote later on authorizing, yes, we actually will commit to doing the work. All right.
Yeah.
Dan?
And I get that, but it's a matter of someone's got to show their work. I mean, we need some real numbers, some real timelines, and some metrics on what we've already done to kind of gauge how this one also will play out. So again, there's a lot of work that has to be done, and for not just for me, this is for the public to see and understand and to be transparent about what, because we could be very well over promising here, and that's the last thing also we want to tell our customers is get their hopes up. Oh yeah, this is a no-brainer, slam dunk, and then only to pull the rug out from under them later, or it's 5 years out instead of 2 years out. I mean, we need to be transparent up front and out in the open with the numbers on this, and who's paying for what, and what the real true costs are going to be. And I have not to this date seen that information or data.
So I think, and we've got an opportunity to get more into this as we continue to develop the budget for this fall, because I assume would you show this work in the 2026 budget as we go forward? Would that be,
I don't think this work would take place in 2026.
it'd be 2027?
It would be maybe engineering and things like that. So it wouldn't be a lot of cash outlay.
Okay.
26.
And if awarded, when would we be signing in for penny in for a pound? When would that date be?
I don't know, Dan. In the case of most of the grants, it was a year or more. And we don't know what the political climate is for this one at all. This one is, the most uncertain. But I would assume it would be sometime in early to mid 2026.
And if the funding disappears, then our obligation to
Then our obligation is not
goes away
there.
too. We
Yeah.
might have spent some money on engineering and so forth and preparing for it, but okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
expect we'll know before we get into engineering whether this money is still going to be available.
Correct. And from everything I have heard and so far what I've been hearing has been accurate. The biggest risk with this grant is that would be sent over to satellite. But so far, because Washington State got in early, expectations are that this will continue to go forward. The equity portion, the access and equity portion has been struck down for the time being. But these were all acts signed by Congress, and the executive branch, it has the power of the distribution, but this is all written into law. So there is some security in that.
Okay.
A couple of things I wanted to add, just real quick. We did cut down the scope of this grant. We did not cut down any of our expected costs. So all of this is based on our actual construction numbers plus adders for inflation. So even though we did bring this down tight, we didn't reduce expected costs of construction. What we did is we took out a lot of redundancies and a lot of the extra equipment that we've been able to add to previous grants. That's just been our standard practice because we're building out a new network. And then we, as I'm showing here, we have in our current project, the Olympic Fiber Corridor and the in-betweens, we have exceeded our take rates. We've built out to over 1,200 homes that already have fiber. We have extra construction to finish up so we can get the connectivity completed, but we have all of those. The next step is just getting all of their in-home construction. And that's been a challenge because there's just been little pockets that were not completed. So we couldn't get that connectivity going, and then we can't do the in-home installation. But we've got over 300 connected. We expect to be over 1,000. Again, I understand the frustration and I understand the need for more data, but we have put in a tremendous effort to map this out. And this is if you look at the last column, we've brought in a ton of money, and this is a huge achievement for our community.
Okay. Do commissioners have more questions?
Yeah,
Dennis?
and again, to Will, I don't want to. I'm appreciative of everything staff has done and is doing. So I want to make sure that that's understood. I'm not trying to diminish anybody's effort or anything along those lines. I do appreciate all that, and I get that. But ultimately, as a commissioner, my responsibility is to the ratepayers and to our customers to make sure that we have gone down every avenue and checked every box to make sure that we're being responsible. So that's where I'm coming from. No one should take it as though I'm trying to say that someone has done something wrong or that they've done things unethically or anything like that. To me, it's strictly a matter of the numbers have to make sense, and we have to have the data to determine those numbers. And one other thing I'll throw in on this is also we already have a grant where we're borrowing $4 to $6 million. I mean, we at some point, for the amount of customers that you're going to have and the pace you're going to get them, the revenue that you need to cover the debt that you're going to incur and your O&M, that has to be spelled out and shown in a way, I think, that the public can also look at it and say, yes, this makes sense, and yes, this is responsible.
Okay. Any more questions?
So I would like to move that the board approve a resolution that approves submission of the application for the state broadband office funding and attesting to the certification required under the application.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Dan, thank you. Motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion? Seeing none. All in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Aye. Okay. There you go.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Some more to follow. And I guess one question, do we anticipate any other meetings on the topic? I realize agendas can change, but do we have any intended agendas where we're going to cover broadband or the broadband business plan, or whether it's in the scope of budgeting? Do we, between now and like July, when this is going to be end of July?
We were shooting for July sometime.
Okay. So we're going to talk.
Just as a reminder, commissioners, in July, we're going to have a discussion about wholesale broadband rates and issues raised by our wholesale providers.
Okay. All right. Any other business for today? Seeing none, it is now 2:45 and this meeting is adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.